Welcome to Real Estate Investing Abundance, the show for busy, fulfilled professionals like you to learn how to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alan Lomax.
Hello, enlightened investors. Welcome back to Real Estate Investing Abundance. I'm your host, Dr. Alan. And once again, thank you so much for being with us. I know you're going to enjoy today's conversation with Tom Suvansri, and he is going to show us how we can escape our W-2 lives and live a life of purpose and abundance. After working in the pharmaceutical industry for 20 years, Tom founded Perennial Pride, which allowed him to leave his corporate job and pursue his passion and purpose. Tom teaches principles and strategies that help families recapture ownership of their financial lives so they can design the life they truly desire. And so I know all of us are interested in finding out about how to utilize our financial well-being to design lives of purpose. So Tom, welcome to the show, and take us into the show and share a memorable experience that helped you to be who you are today.
Alan, thank you for that. I appreciate this opportunity to spend some time with you and just share. And one of the most memorable events that happened in my life actually didn't happen to me personally, but it did happen to my family. My parents were born in Thailand and came over here and started a new life right in America, which a lot of immigrants do. And successful doctor, and my mom was the office manager, nurse. And they came to build more wealth and abundance for their families, and they started doing that fairly well. But like a lot of people who are successful, they didn't actually know how to manage their money, and they went down a lot of slippery slopes on bad investments, bad advisors, and ultimately they lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All their assets. Massive amounts of taxes, and it just spiraled into unfortunate demise and bankruptcy. And I witnessed this as a grown adult, not knowing any of this was really happening. When I finished grad school, which I was supposed to do, right? Supposed to go to school and graduate. And I looked at my credit score and report and realized I had some massive amount of debt there I didn't recognize. Well, lo and behold, that was my mother in desperation taking out debt in my name just to be able to pay the bills.
Wow.
And it shook me to the core because, we grew up in this country, and, the secret to success is just to make a lot of money. And so you become easily enthralled by that and chasing it.
Mm-hmm.
And here, the money that was there basically ended up ruining their lives. And it didn't get to benefit from all of it. And so it really put me down a different path in life. And so, I was a beneficiary of their pain and the mistakes they made that forced me to pay attention to it and recognize that could go away as quickly as it comes in. And it really pushed me down a different road. And it's certainly helped me along my path.
Well, a tough lesson learned there. But your parents are certainly not alone. There are a lot of people, particularly in this country, who really do not know what to do with their finances, and even high income earners. And I think a lot of time, even high income earners are some of the more susceptible to that because they have an high income and they think all is well, and they really have no clue as to how to develop wealth. They bring in a lot of money, but at the end of the day, they have spent it all. And so the next morning, they're starting all over again. And that doesn't build wealth. The only way you build wealth is if you go to bed at night and you wake up in the morning and you have more wealth than when you went to bed. You have to have your money working for you to build wealth. And few people know that. So thank you for being with us, Tom, and sharing that experience. So, what is your approach to wealth building that makes you unique?
Yeah, and I didn't, as I started my own practice with this, a lot of it was self exploration in terms of how to manage and build wealth. And, I had advisors growing up. I didn't grow up in the financial services space, but through those sort of experiences, it really pushed me to learn more. And what I was seeing as a client of advisors was it was very siloed in nature in terms of the advisors. They would only talk about specific things that they could quote unquote sell. And so it put me in a position of understanding I've got to now manage all these different areas of my financial life. And it's difficult, it's complicated. And I'm working a corporate job, trying to support my family. And there wasn't any sort of holistic sort of view and lens of it that anyone was really providing. It was a tax person over there, a financial advisor over there, insurance guy over here. And it was difficult to piece it together. But I was so dead set to make sure that my family was protected that I did it, right? I looked at all of it and tried to connect the dots. And as I started seeing and learning, as probably some of your listeners here being in the real estate game, learning about Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad and all the other ways people are building wealth, it just kind of spiraled that way for me. And I started learning it and started investing in other things like real estate. And I recognize that there's so many people who don't ever see any of this or experience it. And so I started plotting out and learning through my own sort of just self-education and connecting with the right people, like people like you, that there's more out there. And it allowed me to build passive wealth that enough where I could leave my job and say, there are other people that need to benefit and learn about these things, right, for themselves. And so a lot of it is, like you said, just kind of flipping it and say, stop deferring everything till later. How can I build wealth and income today so I can have more control and freedom in my life? I never knew that growing up, right? I was working a job, a successful, plowing as much money into qualified plans for some day without building any passive income along the way that would have let me leave a job. So what happens? I'm stuck on the rat race, right? I'm stuck on the treadmill, one hiccup away. So to me, it's the key to wealth in my mind comes down to just having a different mindset about things and about wealth. It's long term, and it's how do I continue to create that sustainable amount of wealth for every day instead of someday. And that's what I've grown to really appreciate and learn. And it's gotten me out of scarcity mindedness. And this is where I'm helping people at least see that other side of it and see if it's right fit for them or not, because it's obtainable. You and I have probably seen it. People are doing it. It's amazing.
I've had my ups and downs for sure, but yes, I it is great to be in a place where that isn't happening any longer. So, what is the process and model that you leverage to help your clients?
So a lot of it was some of it was a little more humbling, recognizing there's so much complexity within the financial world that just and I'm a big sports fan, so I've always been around teams and the team collaborative nature of teams. And my clue was when you learn about families like the Rockefeller family, what did they do? Well, they built this concept. I don't know if they were originators, but they're definitely ones that people know about, have built family offices. You have, but most of us don't have billions of dollars to hire our own staff to manage all of these things. So what happens? Well, people don't get all those resources and they don't have team members talking to each other. So I said, that's what I would want as a client, right? A team to help me to overlook at the very complicated facets of investments, insurance, tax, right? Legal aspects, estate planning. It's so complicated. So that's the model that I've adopted to use with clients. So I don't have to lead with a product or a particular strategy. It's listening to them and what's happening in their lives. And I have a team of experts in my virtual family office to bring them to the table to help solve their biggest problems, tackle the biggest challenges they have. and then solutions will come after. But that team-based approach to me, being around the right types of people with the right mindset, looking at the benefit of the client first. That is why I've adopted this model, because I know how difficult it is for, as I was a client, trying to piece it together.
Mm.
And no one was really looking at it, and none of these advisors were talking to each other. So I wanted to bring that to the table for clients so they feel that they're getting the best solutions and options and collective nature of a lot of experts. And I know I don't know everything. It's impossible. I know even in my age now, there's no way I know all there is to know about finance. I'm humbled. I know this,
Mhm.
but there's people who can bring to the table their expertise and lend their support and complement, other members of the team. So that's a model that we've adopted and are using with clients now.
Well, there definitely are a lot of components. It's one thing to accumulate wealth. It's certainly another thing to keep it. And as you had said, there's insurance, there's taxes, there's estate planning, there's protecting that capital. All of that comes together, and all of those components can be quite overwhelming and quite confusing. Well, what are the primary inefficiencies that you typically see in the clients that you work with?
Yeah, I think for a lot of folks who are high earning W-2, work a job, or even business professionals, I often get asked the question, where should I invest? It's usually a common question. I said sometimes, and that's the more exciting probably topic. I know this is, focused on real estate. I do enjoy real estate tremendously. But oftentimes, where their biggest expenses are where there's draining a lot of money, whether it be taxes or interest, right, to financial institutions. You imagine, you step back from the world we live in. Obviously, you know this just as well as I do. It's not what you make, it's what you get to keep and use. It's more important. And a lot of money is being leaked out of people's financial lives over long periods of time, right? Every tax dollar we pay is essentially a loss that compounds for decades, right? And lifetimes. Imagine if you're thinking legacy planning, the interest of debt. And I'm a big proponent of using, I don't call it debt leverage, right? When needed, whether people, resources, but people are spending way ahead of their incomes and wasting a lot of money to financial institutions. So those are the two big areas that we even start to think through and make sure that people are maximizing their wealth that they're making so they keep more of it. And then we got to figure out where to deploy it, right, to create income. But it starts with let's keep more of it and more efficiently use it. So then we can then secondarily think about the investments. But we're just so interested in that space, right? It's just a higher topic. Why do you think, online gambling is like one of the biggest industries these days? People like to gamble. I don't like to gamble. I learned my lesson the hard way. I like to invest, and that means knowing something. So I like to tackle, at least initially, the side of plugging all the leaks and bring that money back into people's lives. Imagine you could save 10% of the money you went to taxation. What could you do with that, right, to build wealth? That's a massive thing. And that's what definitely real estate is probably why half the people get into it,
Mhm.
right? At least for a portion of it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't know of any other asset that gives you the tax benefits that real estate does. So, how is it that financial institutions control our wealth? You had alluded to interest, and then also insurance corporations are also financial institutions. So, how is it that these institutions are controlling our wealth?
I think a lot of it, and I'm not going to stand here and say that they're all nefarious, and there's people who are going to say the system's rigged, and I hear that from clients who feel this way. But they're business people just like you and me. right? Whether it's banks, financial institutions, brokerage firms, you name it. We've been sort of taught that we need to just push it to them, right? And wait for it to grow someday. And we got to keep on feeding this over time. So we're giving a lot of money over long periods of time, and they're going to hold it for a long period of time. And then when we want to go use those dollars, they're going to try to trickle it out to us, right? Because they're controlling their wealth to use and invest elsewhere, whether it's insurance companies, banks, you name it. So it's a part of their strategy, right? To keep it more in their hands instead of ours.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a game. Like, I go back to kind of, we talk about sports, like it's a game. And are they bad people? Of course not. Well, maybe some of them are. I don't know. But they're trying to be profitable. Why do you think you'd walk into any bank and it's the fanciest building in town, right? They control the wealth. So the question becomes, how do you get around that? Well, it's first even recognizing what's happening is number one, and say, how do I shift the control back to us, right? What are some different strategies, approaches? I think owning assets like real estate is one, right? Definitely. Owning a business is another. Creating some or keeping more of our wealth and controlling where our dollars are going. And just recognizing that's a game that's being played on the, I guess, called the Wall Street side of things. The Main Street side is a little different. And I've learned that through the course of working inside these big companies and now being outside
Mm-hmm.
and seeing it and realizing that, there's a lot of ways to make money and not pay a whole bunch of taxes and keep more of my wealth and keep it, in my control under my sort of strategies versus what they continues to tell us on a daily basis through marketing, through our 401k plans at work. It's part of the system of what we've been ingrained. And sometimes people don't question it,
Yeah.
right? I bet you people on this listening to this podcast do have questioned it. That's probably why they got into real estate to begin with, right? Or entrepreneurship or
Right.
business owners, right? But a lot of people are in the system.
Enlightened investors, if you haven't done so already, be sure and click that like button and also click that share so others can take advantage of the content. And finally, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single one of our upcoming episodes. Well, I mean, yes, certainly, and people, particularly with W-2 jobs, are very much in the system, and like you say, they may have 401k plans, other retirement plans, IRAs, or what have you. And what I find is so many people think that that's sufficient and that's going to build their wealth. And of course, the hope is that once they get to retirement, it is going to take care of them. But I've seen so many people who have been very, very disappointed in learning that they have a very, very, very good chance of outliving that retirement that they work so hard to accumulate. And it doesn't have to be that way. But 401ks, IRAs, there are all kinds of hidden fees that people just don't ever think about. And that's, like you said, that's ways and means that they control our wealth. It isn't just through interest rates there.
No. And if you may allow me, I even the word retirement is kind of an odd thing that's kind of pervaded our world, right? And that's what I was shooting for, a day where I could quit and stop doing something. And so these are the types of things as you really step back from it and say, why, if I have some productive skill or passion or thing, why would I ever stop helping others to also benefit from it? Like, it's like, so even the concept around these things, really you have to step back and kind of second guess it and say, well, most people, I unfortunately hear that they retire and then they die quickly thereafter because they've lost any passion or purpose, or they've been stressed up working all these years. And I said, this is, there's definitely got to be a better path. Right. And I'm not going to stop working until someone tells me that I can't.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. So many people do die shortly after they retire. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but it definitely is a statistical fact that the way to die young is to retire young, I think. so, so where do you find, or what, I guess I should say, what is the greatest area of exposure for your clients?
Yeah, I think when I look at a lot of different families that are, on the surface live very good lives, have kind of quote unquote got the American dream somewhat in order. What I have seen for the most part, because and this is just the philosophy I've built up. It's nothing extraordinarily new, but there's in the game of sports, like there's balance. There's the defense or offense, right? Usually, most teams don't win because they have one. I mean, there are some rare cases, but there's a balancing act. And I think when I see most people's financial lives, what I see is extremely heavy on investing in future building, like we talked about. That's what we're trained to do. And their foundation is cracking all over the place. And they're left at massive exposure to anything, death, disability, divorce, you name it, lawsuits. They're a hiccup away from potentially disaster financially because of where we are taught to put our money and prioritize our wealth. I see that the foundation needs to be fixed in most homes, right? Financial homes. And it's really looking at all those sorts of things. They play a huge role for long-term wealth building because I know I've come across way too many people who've had bad issues happen through a disability or an unexpected death or whatever, or divorce or loss of job. Their wealth is decimated and they're almost starting all over again. It's an awful thing to see. Now, we can't control all of it anyway, but there are a lot of things we can control. And it just takes some action and priority steps to do it and help to get the right experts to fund it, but and to provide advice. But it's just not the sexy side of finance.
Yeah.
But it is something I see commonly across most clients I come across.
Well, Tom, tell us about your company and the services you offer and how we can get in touch with you to take advantage of those.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, so I started this company, Perennial Pride, about 7 years ago, and it's evolved over time. A lot of it started with helping folks, establish their own family bank and invest in alternative assets, right, for income. And it's expanded, as we talked about, to recognizing there's a lot of other resources that are needed to help people really own their financial lives. And so I wouldn't say that I'm not the type of person or company that we want to just take your money and manage it for you. I'm a big believer that for folks who want to own their own financial lives and they just value other people's opinions and experts to help them shape the things they want to do, that's the best people that we work with, right? The independent business owner, real estate investor, or even a high earning W-2 who just wants to control what they're doing, right? And feel confident they're doing the best for themselves and their families. And so we can provide that comprehensive view of people's financial lives, right? By going through exercises and reviewing, and they'll tell us what's a priority. And then we help them sort of make decisions on it by our team or bringing in the resources to help them make the best decisions for themselves, right? Once they're educated, now they're armed and they can do what they want anyway, right? As opposed to what I typically see for some people, because they don't have information, they don't do anything. We just try to bring that in. So the best way to reach me, even just to have a discovery call, I always have complimentary discovery calls with people and families to see if there's something for us to work on together, right? To discover and learn about each other. What we do here in Perennial Pride is not for everyone. It's not. And it's for people who want to own their financial lives, right? We'll take the time and effort to do it and learn and be open-minded and actually do something about it, right? That's who we are best fits for. And because we're not going to own your money, you will, right? And I think it's absolutely achievable. I've seen it. right? For myself and for others. Just have to take some action. So I wrote, I do have my own podcast, Perennial Pride podcast. I share a lot of experts and information that I've accumulated over the years, and I love it because I get to learn so much from it, from other people. I did, if anyone wants to, I wrote a book. It was more for my kids, but it's called Wealth Beyond the Numbers, and it just shows you how some steps that I've taken over the years to help build up wealth in all areas of my life, not just in my money, but in my mental state, my health, and more importantly, my emotional sort of strength, right? Which is probably, I think, the most underestimated area in our lives, because we're going to go through some stuff, whether we like it or not. And the emotionally strong will win. And I believe that, and I'm trying to instill that in my kids. So, anyone who wants to kind of have a complementary conversation, I love it. You can go on my website, perennialpride.com.
Well, Tom, what are the biggest opportunities to build wealth that you have helped some of your clients to move to?
Yeah, I think, so the biggest things even some of the more successful clients I've had, that there are way more opportunities to invest outside of just the stock market, right? And real estate being a really big asset, big area. And even encouraging folks to think a little bit differently about creating income streams now. How can you do that now? And so I'm even working with people, even bankers, who are seeing that they're too concentrated in what they're doing and they don't have control over it. So we're now venturing into other asset classes that might be a better fit for them and introducing them to them, right? Whether it be in the energy space, right? There's a lot in there. Obviously, real estate, you can private land. So that, those are, at least it's just opening up. I just love opening up eyes to see what people never see on a daily basis. It's never in front of them. And so these are opportunities that people are starting to realize are worth pursuing, and will help diversify what they're doing outside of what the bulk of their assets in their home or in the stock market, right? And they're getting uncomfortable with it because they recognize that there's other players involved controlling what's going on.
Well, Tom, it's been a pleasure having you today. Thank you for sharing your expertise and wisdom. And enlightened investors, thank you so much for tuning in again today. Please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, and go to your favorite podcast app and leave us a rating and a review. Until next time, live abundantly, and we'll see you in the next episode. Enlightened investors, wait, don't go just yet. I just want to remind you about our recently launched webinar that you will not want to miss. If you're at all curious and would like to learn more about how real estate investing can diversify your investment portfolio, alleviate the anxiety associated with Wall Street swings, leverage your 401ks and IRAs to substantially increase the return on your investment, and do all of this with turnkey, hands-off, passive real estate investments, then you'll want to immediately go to stevetalker.com/webinar. In the webinar, we'll also address the common dubious investment schemes that you want to avoid. To access the webinar, go to stevetalker.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you in the webinar.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Investing Abundance, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, a company working for passionate professionals like you to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steve Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steve Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to develop your financial independence, connect with us at stevetalker.com.